Well, we finally have some great news for the American people, which this great news is going to lead to lower prices, meaning things here in the United States could become more affordable again. How great is that? And if you are looking for prices to come down on everything from food to cars to gasoline to homes, go ahead and hit that like button. But this is the reason why, and one of the reasons, okay, there are multiple reasons which I'm going to cover in today's video why the American people should be rather happy about what's going on and optimistic in the direction we're currently headed. Just listen to this.
We are learning from a U.S. official that Ukraine has agreed to a peace proposal to end the war with Russia, saying that only, quote, minor details are outstanding now. The word from Ukraine's President Zelensky is much work still lies ahead. The country's national security chief, though, says its delegation has reached an understanding on the core terms of the deal. And there's also word that Zelensky could travel to the United States this month to sign it. But what about Vladimir Putin? Today, U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Abu Dhabi to discuss the plan. A spokesman for the U.S. Army Secretary, who's leading the delegation, says that those talks are going well and we remain optimistic.
Okay, the American people should remain optimistic for multiple reasons. That is one reason. Here's another. Says Fed governor says current economy is calling for large interest rate cuts to help the job market. Okay, this is Stephen Moran. Now, here's the thing. Right now, there's a lot of pressure on the United States and on the American people. Right now, our jobs market is somewhat up and down. We're seeing layoffs. We're seeing less hiring. We're just here for the holiday season. There's less seasonal workers, and that's problematic as well. And what we are hearing this morning is that there's a lot of people that are concerned that the consumer sentiment is dropping. Okay, it dropped just this morning, but the concern is that shoppers are not going to be there this holiday season. And according to many retailers, they say that we are going to see what happens over the next month. And in 2026, that's going to be the real sign as to whether or not we are going to lay off thousands of employees or we're getting better and things are progressing. But again, that's just the start. Okay? So, good news. We got this war between Russia and Ukraine that could potentially end very soon. That's positive because that means gas prices will come down and grain prices will come down substantially as well. This also reduces the tensions in Europe as well. And according to reports, European countries were putting pressure on the Trump administration to get this deal done, to make sure that President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and the President of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, agree to some type of peace deal because it's now starting to strain the European countries. And so that, according to reports, is why President Trump put this out there. But there's another thing. Look at this. It says Trump ready to talk to Nicolas Maduro over Venezuela drug strikes. Now, I told you guys about this morning, that there is a lot of chatter that the United States is going to strike Venezuela very soon. As to what this looks like, how it happens, how big this strike is going to be, we don't know. Okay, but what we do know is if the United States is able to oust Nicolas Maduro, that means we could have better ties to Venezuela. We could actually negotiate, we could trade, we could get access to and unlock these 300 billion barrels of oil that's sitting beneath the surface in Venezuela. That's the largest oil reserve in the entire world. And if we can unlock that, not just for us here in the US, but for the entire world, it will bring gas prices down. And as we bring gas prices down, that means everything from lumber to cars to food to everything becomes less expensive. That's good news. Now, I want to show you some things. Okay, look at this right here. It says you can't just talk about gas and groceries. The GOP grapples with housing affordability message. It says as Republicans look to catch up on cost of living, some eye housing as a messaging blind spot. if the Trump administration can get a handle on energy costs, which means oil, then we can bring down the cost of housing, okay? Because it'd be less expensive to build. Not only is it less expensive to build, it's less expensive to insure. Millions of Americans right now are upset because their insurance premiums are rising. So I'll give you an example here. On one of my houses, I got a letter in the mail stating that, and in email form as well, that this next year that I will likely have I will likely need to pay out of pocket because I don't have enough money coming out of my enough in a payment being pulled every single month to pay for my insurance. And I also got one that said I will not have enough to cover in escrow to cover my property taxes, because property taxes and insurance has gone up so much so quickly that it wouldn't be covered. So I'll have to go and make an additional payment. Okay, just to give you an example there. But this is the crazy part, is that the Trump administration knows that if we can bring down the cost of everything, then the cost of insurance comes down. We could see the cost of just homes in general come down. We could see the cost of food is going to come down. Clothing, less expensive. Cars, everything. It's just going to drop. And that's what we're waiting on. I want to show you something, though. That came out this morning. It says rising energy costs lift U.S. producer prices in September. I want to show you this. It says, U.S. producer prices rebounded in September as the cost of energy goods surged and producers passed on some tariffs. It says the producer price index for final demand increased by 0.3% after an unrevised 0.1% drop in August. That's according to the Labor Department Bureau of Labor Statistics. It said economists polled by Reuters had forecast the producer price index would rebound by 0.3%. Okay, it says in the 12 months through September, the PPI increased by 2.7% after advancing by the same margin in August. The report was delayed due to that 73-day government shutdown. Okay, but again, the good news, according to President Zelensky, says Ukraine is ready to advance the peace plan. We'll discuss disputed points with President Trump. According to reports, that could happen this month. We are likely going to see that happen this month. It does say President Trump says only a few sticking points remain in the Ukraine-Russia peace talks as Kyiv reportedly backs the framework. It says right here, Ukraine is willing to move forward with a U.S.-backed framework for a peace deal that would end Kyiv's war with Russia, according to news outlets. It says President Donald Trump says there's only a few remaining points of disagreement, and Trump directs U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow, and said U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll will be meeting with the Ukrainians. Yeah, President Trump has sent his envoy to go and discuss this. So, where does that take us from here? Well, here's the good news. If we can have some type of working relationship with Venezuela, that's going to help. That will bring prices down. That will also make tensions, actually reduce tensions in the Caribbean, which would be great. It's essential. But if that happens the same time we see interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve, that's going to be good news. And if we see those two things happen at the same time that this Russia-Ukraine peace deal goes through, that's going to be good news as well. Those are three things that we could see happen in the next month, okay? And if that does go down in the next month, that could mean 2026 is a monumental year. That could be the catalyst for one of the best years we are ever going to see, according to reports. So, we'll see what happens, but that is what we know as of right now. So, if you have any questions regarding anything that's going on as of right now, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.